Namo Haya. Welcome to another video. From today's video, we're going to be discussing about how can we use our speech, our words in a wiser way, right? Now, to do that, in Buddhism, we learn 5 things, 5 rules to follow and ask from ourselves 5 questions before we speak, right? Now, this is taught in regarding to reproving to someone, like showing a mistake to someone. But these 5 rules can be added to our normal day-to-day speech as well. And it will make a greater change and it will make a greater impact on ourselves as well as others. So that is why it is important to understand the words that we speak has got power. There's a beautiful saying that says, words can make people and words can break people. So that understand the words that we speak has got power and it matters. So how can we speak in a wiser way, right? How can we use our words in a wiser way? Now, in Buddhism, we learn 5 rules to follow this, right? 5 questions to ask from ourselves before we speak. Now, the first question that we need to ask from ourselves before we speak something is that, am I speaking in the proper time, right? Sometimes, even though it is true, even though it is truthful what we speak, maybe not the proper time to speak. Now, what is the proper time to speak? Now, the whole idea, the whole point of speaking is to get the message across to the other person in the correct way. But sometimes, even though we are saying the truth, even though we are saying the right thing, that person who is receiving the message may not be in a condition to get the message, right? He or she may be not in a mindset to receive the message. So that if we convey the message, they may not get the same idea that we are having. Now, the whole point of communication is to get the idea, to plant the same idea on the other person, right? But if we did not do in the proper time, it won't work. And that is why in Buddhism we learn, wait until the proper time. Ask from yourself, am I speaking in the proper time, right? Now, for an example, if you need to show a mistake in someone, if you need to correct a mistake in someone, now you need to communicate. That is where you need the communication in, like, it is very important at that time, right? The right communication. But if you say that mistake, if you show that mistake when that person is angry, right? When that person's mind is filled with anger, what happens? They may not get the idea. They may not see the mistake that we are showing. Okay? So what we do? We wait until the anger cools down and open his ears and mind. Now, when our mind is in anger, we are not ready to listen to anyone. Right? We are not ready to think about what is wrong or what is right. What is right? That is why the Buddha says, "Khuddho attang na jananti." When your mind is in anger, you don't know what is good and bad, right? So that we need to understand. If we need to get a message across to that person, we need to wait for the proper time. Until their mind is open, until their ears are open, until they are ready to listen and understand that message. So that waiting until the proper time is very important when we communicate. That is the first question that we need to ask from ourselves. Am I speaking in the right time? The second thing that we need to follow is, we need to ask from ourselves, am I speaking truthfully? Right? The Buddha says, you need to follow the truthful speech. You need to say the truth. But even though the truth, you need to put it in the right time, in the right place, right? The Buddha says, even I, right? Even the Buddha, even though it is the truth, he waits until the right time to say it. Sometimes it is not the correct time to say the truth, so that we need to wait until that. Now, this doesn't say that we need to tell lies to cover up that, right? This says that you need to be patient and not panicked until you need to use the proper word. So the Buddha says that speaking truthfully is very important. Why? Because when you speak the truth, sometimes you may lose certain things, but when you speak the truth, you gain one very important thing, and that is the truth. That is the trust. Trust is very important in any kind of relationship. And that is why you need to be truthful, but also you need to wait until the proper time. Okay? So that is the second thing that you need to ask. Am I speaking truthfully? And also we learn in Buddhism that speak gently, not harshly. So that you need to ask from yourself, am I speaking harshly? Am I speaking gently? Sometimes what you say is true, right? When you say is the correct time, right? You say it in the correct time, what you say is the truth, but the tone matters, right? The words that we use to convey the message matters. I have seen a lot of people showing others' mistakes with rude and harsh words, sometimes putting them down, like putting their mentality down and hurting their mentality and showing the truth, they're showing a mistake, but they don't get that message. Why? Because they have hurt their mentality. Sometimes when you use such kind of words, their emotions get hurt, so that they're not ready to listen to it. Now, why we convey the message, why we communicate, is we understand that this is the right thing, this is the correct thing, but I need to make him right. I need to make him correct. I don't need to see that mistake again in his life. I need the good of that person. Now, if you truly love that person, you have to use your words in a proper way so that he or she get the fullest message that you are conveying. And that is why we learn in Buddhism that gentle words can change people's mindsets. But rude and harsh words make nothing but people more stubborn in their own ideas. So that understand, gentle words are the best way to change other people's mindsets. There are a lot of examples even in Buddhism that we learn that the Buddha, how Bodhisattva used the gentle words to change people, right? So that understand, speaking gently is very important. Now, what makes a gentle man and a gentle woman is not how you wear, right? It's the words that you speak. It's the way that you behave. It's how gentle you treat other people. That is what makes you a gentleman and a gentlewoman. So understand that speaking gently is really, really important. So ask from yourself, am I speaking gently? And also we learn in Buddhism that your speech must be beneficial for the other person, not harmful. Now to do that, you need to have an intention that you truly love that person, right? You truly love your idea to see that in that person's mind and making their life much better, right? See the good on them. Now to do that, you need to speak in a beneficial way so that that person corrects their mistakes, right? That person's life becomes better by listening to your words. So that the Buddha says that always speak beneficial words, not the words that harm other people's life. So then you need to ask from yourself that, am I speaking beneficially but not harmfully? So that understand, you need to speak to the people to see the good on them. And the final question that we need to ask from ourselves is that, am I speaking lovingly, out of love and compassion, not with inner hate? Sometimes we use our words, even though the good words, good things, but we have the inner hate, right? When we have the inner hate, that is the intention behind our words. And that intention can create negative situations in our life and also the other people's lives. And that is why in Buddhist way of right speech, we refrain from all the negative speeches like rude words, harsh words, right? or some mean words that has the negative intentions behind, right? So the intention behind your speech is really, really important. So that understand, ask from yourself that, am I speaking to this person out of love and compassion, not with inner hate, right? So the Buddha says that speak with love and compassion. Okay, sometimes some people complain, okay, if we speak with love and compassion, they are not ready to understand it. And we believe that speaking with like kind words and compassionate and gentle words will make other people not to understand what we say. Sometimes they say, okay, to make someone understand, we need to use rude and harsh words. But that is not always correct, right? The reason why we believe that using those rude and harsh words is the only way to get the message to that person is because when we were children, we were treated with rude and harsh words, right? We were disciplined in the rude and hard ways, so that we believe that this is the only way to do that, but it is not, right? If you start to use in the correct way your speech, it is pretty sure that you get the message correctly to that person, and also they understand it and they make their mistakes correct. So that understand, these are the 5 things that we need to follow. These are the five questions that we need to ask from ourselves to get the message correctly, to communicate in a correct way, and also to make our speech wiser. So follow these 5 things in your speech and make your life even more better. Namo Buddhaya. Still, I can remember this incident. When I was little, when I was at school, one of my teachers came to our noisy classroom and she asked from us, do you know why you have given 2 ears and 1 mouth? Then she said, the reason why we have given 2 ears and 1 mouth is to talk less and to listen more. Ladies and gentlemen, when we deal with people in our relationship life, in your family life, in your workspace, if you have this quality of active listening, that can help you in many ways. This quality can help you in many ways. Okay? Now, so many people come to our temple and they talk with the monks with their problems and about their family problems, the problems in their workspace. And there's one thing that they all say, and that is, they say, they are not listening to me. They are not willing to pay attention to me. They cannot understand me. That is one thing that they say. So, if you have the art of active listening, if you practice the art of active listening, you will be liked by many people, right? People always like to talk with someone who is paying more attention to them, right? If you consider about the Buddha, Buddha was a great listener. At one time, one man comes up to the Buddha and he starts insulting him, right? He starts blaming him. All through that incident, the only thing that Buddha did was he listened to that person, right? He paid a good attention to that person. And in another time, one lady comes with her son died on her hand, and she was wailing and she was lamenting in front of the Buddha. And the only thing that the Buddha did was, he paid attention to that lady's suffering, right? He listened to that lady's suffering. So, if you can practice this art of active listening, if you can listen more and talk less, people will start to like you. Remember that. For an example, if you come up to me, right? If you wanted to talk about a problem that you are having in your life, and from the beginning of the conversation, if I started to give you instructions and give you the advice and my opinions about that problem, what would you feel? You will start to think like, this monk cannot understand me. He's not willing to pay attention to me. He's not willing to listen to me. So, practice this art of active listening. So how can we practice the listening? Well, the Buddha said that all the words that we speak from our mouth is pre-processed in our mind. That means we think first all these words and then we put it into our mouth and we speak. So if we can be mindful about what we think, what is going on in our mind, then it is very easy to control what you speak. And then it is very easy to know when to speak and when not to speak. So this practice is called, being mindful about the thoughts is called Chittanupassana in Buddhism, right? For that, the only thing that we have to do is like just sit in a quiet place and just watch our thoughts, what comes to our mind. We don't want to react with that thought. We don't want to chase behind that thought. Just identify the thought as just a thought. That is one practice that you can practice to be a good listener. And also, there's another way to practice this listening ability is to engage in conversations and try to listen more to that person. So, in the next conversation that you're having, try this out. Go to someone, and if they wanted to talk with you, just from the beginning of the conversation, tell it to yourself that I'm going to listen to this person more. I'm going to pay attention to this person more. That is one way of paying and showing your love and affection to the person that is in front of you, right? That is why lending a good ear and listening to someone and sharing their suffering or problems with them is one way of showing your compassion and love towards them. Okay? So in the next conversation, when you go through that, just listen more to them. Let them put out what is in their mind. And when they go silent, and then you have to ask some more questions. Tell me, how did you do that? Right? How it happened? Right? Tell me more about the details that happened. Then they will be more interested in talking with you and they will start to like you and love you. When you practice this, then you will get used to this active listening. Okay? And also remember, do not listen to someone just to reply to them or just to give your opinion to them. Always listen to people to understand about their situation, to understand who the person behind these words, and to understand the intention behind these words. When you do that, then you will become an active and a good listener, and then you will be liked by many people. So that is all about the active listening. Be mindful about your thoughts and listen more than you talk. Keep that in your mind. Namo Haya. Welcome everyone to another video. So today, let's talk about loneliness and how we can face this situation. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about two things. And the first one is the loneliness, and the second one is the solitude, which is more reframed version of being alone. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about loneliness. When we are around people, when we are living with people, and when we are in relationships with people, normally we feel happy. We feel that we are content, right? And we feel this joyfulness within ourselves. But when they are not around us, or when they leave us, sometimes when we have to depart from them, normally we feel depressed, sad, or lonely, or we feel like no one cares about us. So this is the feeling of loneliness. If we analyze this emotion of loneliness, we can find that we have become happy because of the people around us, because of their reaction, because of their way of behavior. That was the reason that we became happy. Simply it means that we have given the key of our own happiness to other people. So when they leave our life, sometimes when they depart from ourselves, sometimes when they fade away from our life, what happens to us is we become unhappy. We become sad, we become depressed, and we feel like no one is caring for us. There is no one to help for me. That is what we are thinking. So how we can deal with this? Well, that is where we come to the topic of solitude. Supreme Buddha advised us, Supreme Buddha advised the monks to practice this practice of being solitude. So what do you mean by solitude? So first of all, let's compare the loneliness to the solitude. Then you can take some idea about that. In loneliness, when you're lonely, you're thinking for someone to come to your life and make you happy. That means you're depending on others. Your happiness depends on others. But in solitude, you try to find the happiness within yourself. When you find the happiness inside yourself, you don't want to depend on another person. You don't want to depend on second person. You can find your happiness within yourself. And that is what the practice of solitude gives us. So when you're being solitude, or simply when you're being alone, now there are the people talk about this like the loneliness and being alone is two different things, right? So when you're being alone or when you're being in solitude, you're happy. You're not finding the happiness from these outer sources. You find the happiness within yourself. So Buddha teaches us to look at this loneliness not as something to be sad, not as something negative. Buddha teaches us to look at this loneliness, something that is beneficial for you, something that is positive. So how we can use this loneliness, or how we can reframe this loneliness to be positive? Well, if you think about whenever you are being alone, you have more time for yourself, right? You have a bigger freedom for yourself. You can think about yourself. You can reflect more about yourself, and you can practice meditations, or you can think about your health and do some practices about that. You can do some self-development techniques, so you can improve yourself. So when you use that time, when you use that loneliness for good things, then you become more positive about that. Then you will never feel these sad or depressing states. So let me tell you a little story how Buddha felt lonely at one time. Actually, this incident happened to the Buddha before he became enlightened. We call him the Bodhisattva. When he was Bodhisattva, he was practicing this self-mortification for 6 years. He gave lots of hardships to this body. He did some extreme meditations in the jungle. So there were 5 monks who were helping the Bodhisattva. So he practiced this self-mortification meditation for 6 years, and he mastered that. Finally, he came to the conclusion of that I cannot achieve this enlightenment by self-mortificating or by giving this extreme hardship to this body. So he decided to find this middle way. So what he did was, first of all, he took his bowl and he went to the village and he got some foods to eat. Because he thought that to do the meditations, I need to have this physical energy. But those 5 monks who were helping to Bodhisattva, who were expecting the enlightenment from the Bodhisattva through this self-mortification, was so confused because they saw that the Bodhisattva is having these foods. Then those 5 monks thought, like, now he's not going to achieve this enlightenment. The enlightenment can only be achieved by this self-mortification. So they never believed on the Bodhisattva. So what they did was, they left the Bodhisattva. Now our Mahabodhisattva was all alone in the middle of the jungle. There was no one to help him. There was no one to care about him. No one knew about him. He was all alone. But he didn't think about that loneliness as something depressed or something negative. So he thought, now I have more time for myself. I can do my meditations freely. There was no one to think about me. So I must use this time for my self-development. That is what Mahabodhisattva thought. So that is the way that we also should think about this loneliness. If you are feeling lonely, if you are having some kind of a loneliness situations in your life, use that time, use that valuable time to create a better life for yourself, because you have more time. You can do meditations. You can stick into a daily routine of the self-development. You can do meditations. You can do workouts. You can walk for some time. And you can be with this nature, read a book, or learn something new, practice meditations, do exercises. These things can be done when you are all alone. So, rather than feeling depressed about the situations that you are in, why can't we become more happy about the time that we are spending alone, right? So practice this, okay? So if people comes to your life, let them come. If people walks away from your life, let them walk away. But you have to be by yourself. You have to think about yourself. That is what you have to think, and that is what you have to do in this valuable time. So I think you got some idea about the loneliness and being in the solitude. So practice the solitude and make your life more better. Namo Buddhaya. I know it is very difficult to forget the past memories. I know it is very difficult to forgive yourself for the things that you have done in the past. But at the end of our life, at the end of our day, what we all need is nothing but just the peace in our mind. But in order to find that peace, we need to let go of that past memory, let go of that things that hurt us. But how? Is there a way to find that peacefulness within our mind? Well, let's discuss about it in this video. If you look at the past memories, I heard this nice quote about the past memories. It says, thinking about and worrying about past is like dragging a boat on a dry land. Okay? Now, where we can use the boat, we can use it on water. But if you try to drag that boat onto dry land and take it with you to wherever you go, what will happen to you? It will become a burden to you. It will hurt you. It is so heavy. And there is no use in the same place, right? You cannot use the boat on the dry land. Okay? Holding on to past memories is also like that, right? There's no use of it, right? We're not letting that past memory to be in the correct place, but taking it to wherever we go and every place that we go, and it will keep hurting us. So what we can do to forgive ourselves and let go of that past memory? Well, there are certain things that you can do. One of the most important things that you have to realize in this world is that not everything in this world is totally under our control. There are people around you, okay? There are things around you. There are certain things that is happening around you, but not everything, not every one of them is totally under your control, okay? We have to deal with it, but it is out of our control. How people treat you, you cannot do anything about it. How people think about you, you have no control over it.
how people talk to you, how people behave in front of you, the things that is happening in this environment, in the nature. There are things that is out of our control, okay? If we try and if you realize that this is the truth, okay, I cannot do anything about it, should I worry about them? Then you come to the conclusion that I don't want to worry about it because it is out of my range, okay? So this is one reality that you have to understand. The world is not totally under your control. Why? Because we are so busy in our life trying to control the things that are around ourselves that are out of our control. Okay? So realize that not everything is under your control. And the next thing that you have to do is, this might surprise you. Now, a lot of people are trying to forget the past memory. Okay? I would say, don't try to forget past memories. Okay? Don't try to do it. What will happen if you try to do it? The more you try to forget something, the more it will haunt your mind. Isn't that true? Just do it practically, right? Try to forget something, it will come back to your mind. Okay? I would say, rather than trying to forget the past memory, I would say, let it fade away from your life. Okay? Let it fade away. How to do it? Fading away is happening with time, okay? It takes time. It's something like healing a wound, okay? To heal a wound, it takes time, okay? So what we have to do is, we have to give less attention to that memory, okay? Now, most of the time, what happens in us is, when past memories haunt us, we give so much attention to it. We give so much awareness to it and think like, this is the biggest tragedy in my life. This is the biggest mistake that I have done in my life. Now my life is worse. Okay? The more we give attention to something, it will grow. That is the nature of the mind. The Buddha said, the more you give attention to something, these kind of thoughts come again and again to your mind. So what we have to do is give less attention to it. But how? Okay? Now, so many of you say it is very easy for you to say that give less attention to it. But it is very difficult. I know, it is very difficult. But there's one thing that we can do. We can identify that thought as a thought. Okay? Let's say these past memories, they are always the thoughts inside our mind. Okay? And also there are certain good memories and happy memories. All of them are just thoughts, okay? The only difference between these hurtful memories, past memories, and the good memories is the way we look at that thought, okay? The perspective towards that thought. If we can identify, this is just a thought, there's no difference, okay? It will come to our mind and this will fade away and this will pass away with the time. So I must give some time to my mind to let my mind heal. When you do that, the past memories will start to fade away little by little. Why? Because you are giving less attention to it. Okay? Then there will be a day that comes, then you come to a conclusion and you will realize that these past memories are no longer hurting you. Okay? In my life, I had bad memories, okay? The reason why I'm telling this is because I've been in the same situation as you guys, okay? There was so many past bad memories and mistakes that I have done in the past, but when we give less attention to that, it will fade away, okay? Then you will be okay with those past memories. So that is what I have to share with you in this video. So just let your past memories fade away from your life. Learn from your past, learn from your tears, and let your tears water the seeds of your future success. Keep that in your mind. Welcome to yet another episode in Inner Guide Q&A program. Today we are going to talk about how to deal with past memories. They are the memories that holding us back and destroying our present moment and our future. So how can we deal with these past memories? First of all, I will tell you a nice story. In the Buddha's time, there was a murderer. Now, he wasn't just a murderer, he was a serial killer. He killed thousands and thousands of people. And do you know what he did to those dead people? He cut a finger from each one of them and he made a garland out of that fingers. And he wore that garland around his neck. So his name was Angulimala, the person who wears the garland of fingers. With the help of the great Supreme Buddha, he became an innocent person again. Before becoming a serial killer, he was just an innocent boy. But with the bad companionship, he became a serial killer. So with the Buddha's help, he became an innocent person again, and he became a monk. After that, he realized the teachings of the Buddha and he became enlightened. The reason for his enlightenment was he did not let his past to define who he is, right? He did not regret about what he has done in the past. Instead, he focused on the present moment. The Buddha advised Angulimala, after becoming a monk, think of yourself as a newly born person, a new person, and do not let your past to define who you are. So he did meditations and he practiced the path of the Buddha and he became enlightened. So that was the little story. So what we can take from this little story? If you're holding onto the past and if you're letting your past to define who you are, right, you will never be the person that who you want to be. So remember, mistakes can happen by anyone. We make mistakes. That is why we are known as humans. Okay? So mistakes can happen. Even the good people make mistakes. That doesn't mean that they need to suffer and they need to regret about the things for the whole life. Right? We make mistakes, and what we have to do, we have to focus on the present moment. Think of yourself, now I have done a mistake in the past, but now what should I do to become a good person? When you think of that, you're focusing on the present moment. That is what you have to do. Every time you're regretting about the past memories, the things that has happened in the past, you are touching the wound of yourself. You know, the miserable moments that has happened in the past is like a wound. It takes time to heal. So if you keep on touching into that wound, it will never be healed. So what do you have to do? Should you forget the past? Of course not. You should not forget the past, and you cannot forget the past. Remember, the more you try to forget the past, the more it will haunt your memories again and again. So what you have to do? You have to let your miserable and painful past memories to just fade away from your life, right? So to do that, you should not give much attention to the past miserable, painful memories, right? When we are not giving any attention to something, chances are very high for it to fade away from our memories. So what you have to do, just do not give any attention to those past memories, okay? And that is why our great teacher Supreme Buddha taught us in Bhaddekaratta Sutta, Atitang nanva gameya nappati kanke anagatang. Do not dwell on the past. Nappatikanke anagata. Do not dream too much on the future. Yadati tang pahinatang apattancha anagatang. The past has gone now, it is over. And the future hasn't yet come. And Buddha said, Paccupannancha yo dhammang tattha tattha vipassati. You have to focus on the present moment and do what is right here, right now. So do not let the past to define who you are, and focus on the present moment and think, what can I do to become a better person now? Admit your faults. Learn from your past. Do not make it a wound and a painful situation. Just learn from it, right? And then you can think, what should I do to become a better person right here, right now? Right? When you do the good things and when you do the right thing in the present moment, your past will be a good one and your future will be also a good one. So what you have to do, you only own this present moment. Always keep it in your mind, right? The moment that you only own is this moment, right? In the past, what has happened in the past, you cannot control it. What is going to happen in the future, you have no control about that. What you have in your hand is this present moment. So focus on the present moment, do the good things, be a good person, and your future will be a better one, your past will be a better one also. So practice the Buddha's teachings and stay in the present moment. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. In today's video, let's talk about how to control our negative emotions and how to control our mind. Well, the nature of our mind is it always likes to wander in negative emotions and negative thoughts. Negative thoughts like anger, desire or lust, or then jealousy, maybe resentment. These are the negative thoughts that our mind likes to wander in. So how can we control it? Well, our great teacher Supreme Buddha introduced us a gradual training where you can practice this controlling of negative emotions or negative thoughts in your mind. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce them to you. So first and foremost, before getting into these steps, there is one thing that you have to practice, and there is one thing that you have to master, and that is awareness. If you are not aware of what you are thinking, if you are not mindful about what you are thinking, then you cannot control it. So you have to totally understand and you have to totally be aware of what you are thinking. Okay? So whenever you become aware of what you are thinking, then you will have that power to control it. So here comes the first step. Buddha says, whenever you become aware of your mind is wandering in negative thoughts like anger or lustful thoughts or resentment or jealousy, the first thing is to shift your thought pattern to something wholesome. There are some wholesome thoughts in your mind which makes you peaceful. Maybe like thinking of something that you have done in the past, like maybe you helped someone. Whenever you think that thought, your mind becomes happy and peaceful. So what you're going to do is, whenever you become aware of your negative thoughts, we're going to shift our thought pattern to something that is wholesome, something that makes us peaceful. So that is the first thing that Buddha says. Shift your thoughts to wholesome thoughts. If that first step did not work out, then what you have to do, go for the next step. What is that? Buddha says, think about the disadvantages of thinking negative emotions, right? If you are constantly having angry thoughts, then you have to think, these thoughts are hurting myself and others. If I take actions according to these thoughts, it will hurt myself and the others. Remember, it may be a little thought of anger, but if it grows up, what will happen? It will be destructive. So what do you have to do? Think about the drawbacks or disadvantages of thinking these negative thoughts. then whenever you see these disadvantages, your mind will tend to stay away from these negative thoughts. Most of the time, we are not aware of these disadvantages. Okay? So what you have to do, think. If I keep on thinking these negative thoughts, it is not going to help me. It will disrupt my peacefulness. Right? That is the second step. Then as the third step, Buddha says, pay no mind, pay no attention. If the second step did not work out, go for the third step, to not to pay any attention to that thought. Right? See, whenever we give so much attention to something, maybe a thought, it grows again and again, it grows more, right? For an example, if you became angry with someone and if you keep thinking about him again and again and becoming angry, that anger will grow more and more. So what do you have to do? We have to let the thought be a thought without paying much attention, right? When you just stay away from giving attention, then it will fade away from your mind. It's something like this. Have you seen little babies, when they fall down, they start to cry, right? If the parent or the mother or father see that it is not a big deal of falling, if mother or father did not give any attention to that baby, what does he do? He just don't care about that. He will stop crying. Same thing goes with our mind. If we did not pay any attention to that thought, right? If we did not care about that thought and just let it go and let it pass away from our mind, then it will fade away. That is one way of doing that. If the third step did not work for you, then the Buddha says, go for the fourth step, to relax your thought process. Right? Now remember, when you think negative thoughts, your mind becomes so much busy, so much rough and distracted. So, what you're going to do is, you're thinking, why am I thinking these distractive thoughts? These negative thoughts that are making me so much busy and making me distracted, right? So, what you're going to do is, you're relaxing your thought process to something very soft and subtle. Maybe like loving kindness, maybe like compassion, right? Maybe like gratefulness. When you think those thoughts, when you think more positive thoughts, your mind or your thought process becomes so much relaxed. And then, if the fourth step did not work for you, then it comes the final step. This is something that we have to do with a great care. I do not recommend for everyone to do this. This should be done with a great experience and a good practice, right? And that is to crush your thought with awareness, right? You have to be totally aware of your thinking pattern and have a good determination to your mind that I am not going to think these negative thoughts, right? But this should not be done by everyone, right? Some may be not good at this, right? If you keep on becoming aware and if you keep on forcing this mind, it will grow more and more these negative thoughts. So if all those 4 steps did not work for you, then you have to go for the final step, right? So it is much better to practice these 4 thoughts before doing the final one, okay? So practice these things. When you practice, you will feel and you will understand that your negative emotions are fading away little by little. Remember, this is not going to happen overnight. It will take a long time to do this, but you have to keep on practicing. Keep on doing it, make it a habit, and then you will become a master of it. So practice this practice and make your mind a place where free from negative thoughts. Namo Buddhaya.